Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Denver Deck Builders. My name is Keaton again. We are on week 4 of this project. So, should be last week, at least last full week. Might have a little bit to do next week. And then we have concrete coming on later in December. I think December 1st is when they should be on site, but who knows. So, we got that going on. I'll have some footage of that later on. But last full week of us being on site and actually doing work. So today we're finishing up planking. We have that angled section that I talked about last week to finish up, and then a little bit left of that large section right by the door where it's angled against the wall there. So I got my guys over there working on that. I'm going to get started right over here. I'm going to take you guys along with me on cutting and getting the rim joist installed. So the way we do that is a little different than some people might do it. Some people might go ahead and install that before planking. The way we like to do it is we actually like to run all of our planking and then run our joists long. That way we can get it cut to the exact measurement we want. So what that allows us to do is it allows us to start with a full plank at the house or at the building in this case, and then it'll allow us to end on a full plank with no rips anywhere. So that is always our goal. Our goal is always to have full planks starting and full planks ending, and this allows us to do that on a beam defined edge deck. Sometimes we're not able to do that, but if we do have those type of decks, we'll start at the beam, work our way back so that any rip that we do have will be at the house or building. That way it's at least noticeable spot as possible. But I'll show you guys kind of what I have going on over here, and then we'll go from there. So right over here, I've already marked out a few spots. So what we do is we measure from the planks over. So our total length, our total width of planks from this side of this gap to this edge right here is 11 and a quarter inches. So what we do is over here, we want, so this line right here, you kind of not see it, so let me move this saw here. There we go. So this line right here is where our planks are going to end. So we want a 1.5 inch overhang. So that puts us right here. That's where we want our framing to end. And then we're going to be putting a 1.5 inch PWT 2x10 on the, or sorry, 2x12 on the outside right here. So we want to set back our cut 1.5 inches. So we went ahead and measured and marked that. That was at 8 3/4. So we're going to mark one mark here, mark one mark over there, and we chalked that. And then we go ahead and draw these lines down on the side, and we'll go ahead and cut those off. So yeah, we're going to get started on that, and then I'll get that rim joist thrown on. I'll come back later and show you guys that as well. Alrighty, so camera overheated, so got cut a little short than I expected, but got it cooled back down, so I'll show you guys what we got done here. If I turn it around right here, got that first piece of rim joist in. We'll get tape on top as well. I had to do this piece in 2 because this section, if you can tell, I don't know if you can tell, but this last about 5 feet angles down a little bit so that we can match up with that concrete ramp over there. So I had to do this in 2 sections. What we do is we just go ahead and sink some wood screws in the end, connecting these rim joist to this. We'll go back and put in some stronger RSS, or rugged structural screws in here, or ledger locks, depending, just to kind of really tie this in, because we are screwing into the end grain of the board. And on PWT, end grain is not as strong as screwing it into the face. So we'll go ahead and do that and connect those together with some nice RSS screws. But we got this one put all in right here. And then I'm going to get this one put in right here. So, alrighty. So, got that finished up. So I'm just going to show you guys how that looks after we're done. Just got tape all the way along it, just like every other joist. And yeah, made sure that every single one had at least 2, sometimes 3 screws in it. That's all you really need for this. Mostly what that is for the fascia to have a really nice straight edge to screw into, where we don't have to make sure that the screws are exactly into the end of the joist. So we also do screw our railing into it as well. That's why on the corners we're going to have a little bit more of structure and support through some extra RSS screws. So went ahead and installed those and we're good to go. Now I just got to go do that again over on the end over there. However, we're not going to touch that yet until they're done with planking over there. So we'll do that a little bit later. Right now I'm going to get this marked out right here and start cutting with the track saw and getting the edges cut for our planking. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And yeah, I'll probably put you guys on a time lapse while I do that so that you guys can see me actually doing that. So I'll show you guys how I set that up and get going from there. Later. Okay, so got this all marked out for the first one. Our cut is going to be at 9.5 inches, and what that does is it gives me no gap between the ends of these boards and the picture frame. And I'll show you kind of what that looks like. I got that marked out on both sides. We snapped a line, and then I'm going to get this track saw going. So if you can kind of see. All right, if you can kind of see, right here is a little black line. And then you can kind of see a blue line all the way over here. And I got that track saw track going. And we'll get that cutting on here. I'm going to try. I saw a clip of a guy that said to take the side off of these track saws so they don't get gunked up. A lot of these planks will get gunked up really easily, or gunk up the saw really easily. So if that works, great. If not, I'll have to get the vacuum out and attach it, and that just helps it not build up anything inside that blade. So yeah, I'll get a time lapse going here and then show you guys us cutting. Man, I love this thing. That track saw has single-handedly taken this job and made it so much easier. These lines end up perfect all the way down. Alrighty. So yeah, that's how we prep for picture frame. We're gonna do that again over here. We got a lot more lines to cut, so we have this entire section. We got one on that side for that section, another one on the side that I'm standing on. And that one's going to go all the way down here to the end. And then we got 2 more right over here, all the way down to the end. And then 2 more over there. So, plenty of cutting with the track saw. I have a connector piece so that I can connect 2 of those tracks together coming in the mail, but it's supposed to be here today. Apparently it's going to be here tomorrow, so hopefully I get that in time to use it. But if not, it's not a big deal. Just means more moving the track every time. So, yeah. See you guys a little bit later. Bye. Welcome back, guys. We're wrapping up Monday of week 4. So I did not have the time lapse going for some areas of the deck. Did have it on some areas, so you'll see that here and there. But we did have it on this section when they were finishing up framing over or planking over here. So they got this planked all the way to the end right there. We did have to work around these doors. So these doors, this one, that one, and that one on this wall are all not level with each other. And they are not level with that door over there. So we are having to work around. Luckily, right over here with the garage door, we were able to unscrew that trim right there, pull it up a little bit, and then plank right underneath it. And that won't affect that door at all. Right over here, we planked basically right up to it. And we'll get a little transition strip to make that mesh really well. And then over here, this one is the worst, by far the worst one. So that door over there, we're able to tuck right underneath. We already verified that we are able to do that. And that's because we framed based off the level of that door. So that's the primary entrance on off and on this deck other than the garage door. So we wanted to make sure that one had planks that were perfectly tucked underneath the door. However, what that meant is this door over here, which was installed later on after the old deck was here, you can see it's kind of low. I don't know if you can see that. Door still opens and all of that, but yeah, that one might have to be adjusted a little bit more. We do have some movement on that, but what we'll do is we'll come in and do a transition strip between the metal on the bottom of the door and the planks. So we'll have to take a look at that a little bit later, see if we have to adjust anything with the hinges, but that might be something that the church will have to do. But yeah, got that mostly finished over here. They're going to get this buttoned up tomorrow, and I'm going to move on to picture frame on this section right here, that section right there. So I did get some picture frame done over here, and I did not show the actual picture frame installation, but I did show the prep for it with cutting the edges. So I got that on camera, and I probably already showed you that in this video, but yeah, we got our seams here. Nice. Good looking seams. We do run our planks directly into the side of the picture frame border because it just looks way better. And then we have it coming around that edge right there, and then all the way out to here. So tomorrow we'll continue that. We'll start with this center section right here, get that completed all the way down to the corner. We'll put on that rim joist over there, and then we'll do that center section right there. Goal for tomorrow is pretty much get 90% of the picture frame done. We might have to wait a little bit on that last little part over there, but should be able to get all of this in, all of this in, and all of that in, and all of that in. So that'll be the goal for tomorrow. So we will see you guys then. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys later. Alrighty, welcome back. Today is Tuesday, week 4. I had a little bit of an issue with my truck this morning, so I had to fix that. So I'm getting a little bit of a late start, but I'm about to start cutting all of the edges for picture frame. So I figured I'd come on here, talk to you a little bit while I'm getting set up for that. I got a new track and a connector kit for that, so I can do a little bit longer of a run at a time instead of, I think before I was just doing like, these are 55 inches, I believe. So I got one more 55-inch track for a total of 110 inches of track. So that'll help me get done a little bit faster, hopefully. Yeah. Alrighty, I just finished cutting the first of the long cuts for picture frame in this center section. And this track saw is awesome. I love it. It was the best purchase I've ever made. It's an expensive one. It hurt the pocketbook a little bit, but best purchase I've ever made. I was able to cut about 35 feet in about 5 to 6-ish minutes. I had it on a 10-minute time lapse, and there was about 4.5 minutes left on that 10-minute time lapse. So, yeah, this thing is awesome. It cuts perfectly straight lines every time. It is definitely a good purchase. Now, the thing I will say about it is get the 24 tooth blades. I was using 48 tooth blades before, which is like a finished blade. So it's designed for like cabinetry work, that kind of stuff. And it's the standard track saw blade you'll find on these. It's what it comes with. And then in store, you'll find the 48. I went online and bought a few 24s just so I could try them out, see if it would work better. And for planking, by far, it's the best I've found so far on this job. What it really does is it leaves a really nice smooth edge on this planking, but it throws all the sawdust out of the saw really well. It's faster, and it doesn't heat up as fast, so you're not going to get as much warping of the saw blade. You don't have to let it sit and cool down quite as often. But yeah, so 110-inch track with the Milwaukee track saw and a 24 tooth blade is the best I've found. So I'm gonna get moving on the next two cuts right in the center here, and then hopefully Nate will be done with that section over there, and I can cut those two today as well, and we can start installing some picture frame. So yeah, I'm happy. This job, or this tool, one of the best purchases I've ever made. All right, see y'all later. Alrighty, welcome back. A little bit of a short day for me today. My guys were here all day, but I had to take care of something with my truck this morning, so got that done though. And now we're headed out. So got all the two main sections of picture frame cut. Those 4 cuts only took me about 35 minutes of actual cutting. It was more prepping and making sure that the lines were all straight and all that stuff, but got that done. Got one picture frame piece cut and put in. Got the measurement for the other one, so we'll get that done tomorrow first thing. And then tomorrow we should have most picture frame done tomorrow by midday. So hopefully that goes well. We'll probably start on fascia tomorrow, potentially railing. Might do railing first before we do fascia. Sometimes I like to flop those around as needed, but I think we might do railing first, just because it'll take the longest amount of time, as well as we want to have access to put blocks in if we need to. So we'll get that done tomorrow. Get started on railing, at least prepping posts to go in. We had to go with Fortress for this. We flop back and forth between Fortress and Fulton depending on availability. Fulton railing for the commercial stuff, which is a little bit taller, was like 6 weeks out, and Fortress was ready within a week. So wanted to get that out here so that we didn't run into any delays with that. So we have Fortress, black sand, metal railing going in. We have light caps on every post except for on the ramp. They might also add that in, we'll see. And then fascia, and we're almost done. So, basically 3 categories left. We do have concrete coming in on the 15th, 16th of December, so I'll come back for that, and I'll be filming a little bit there too, and that'll be the final installment, so it'll be like the week 5, really, of the project, but 4 weeks of where we're actually working, and then we do have a staircase that we're waiting for concrete to be poured before we do that. So we'll get that all done. So week 4 coming up on the coming up on the midpoint in week 4. So we will see you guys tomorrow. See ya.